everybody. So, just a quick recap in case you forgot our process over lunch. All right, we're just going to go through those 4 stages. We're going to start with those memorable, meaningful moments. Then we're going to allow the directors and writers to ask questions. Then we're going to ask questions, but neutral questions, remember? And then the 4th stage is that we can give our opinions, but we ask if they want to hear the opinion. Okay, so we're going to start with Tsetse Valley by Tsungai and directed by Richard. And so what in that first piece, if you cast your minds back, you've now seen 3 plays, what in that first piece really stands out for you as being memorable, as being meaningful? What moments, what aspects? Yeah, Pat.
What I found memorable is the selection of law versus tribal right, which is something that we're still dealing with in Botswana. So I like the fact that you brought that to, I guess, the younger audience for this purpose.
Thank you. Yes, Jacqueline.
My most memorable moment was a pause, and it was when the young hunter who wanted to be a hunter said, "I must do nothing," and then he paused and then he said, "And my mother's grave gets closer," or something like that, and it just struck me so deeply. It was such a beautiful moment.
Other things, yes.
And the judge.
The judge, what about the judge?
He was so, so chilled, he had that whole, vibe.
Yeah, really kind of confidence, hey, in who he was and in that status. Yeah, very good. Yes, what else? Yes.
The most memorable moment for me was when the young hunter didn't realize when things were real. That moment when he was faking death and then he needed to run, but then he was faking, thinking things weren't that real. That was really funny and
Right. Okay, yeah.
I think my memorable moment was the knowledge about the animals. It came across so well in the writing.
Yeah, there was such a sense of the texture of the place, and there seemed to be a real knowledge of nature, of the bush, of spoor and tracking and all of those elements. Yeah, great. Other memorable things, yes.
My one is the breaking out of the awkwardness of people falling on the floor. And the young actor saying, "We'll continue." I thought that was quite good.
Beautiful statement of that moment, okay, and just keeping their focus and keeping going is really great, yeah.
When the script wasn't stapled and then it fell.
Okay, same moment, yes. So, yeah, I think we all appreciated the fact that they really handled what could be a very awkward moment on stage, but they did it with such confidence, and they kept the focus and the story going, yeah.
Yeah, my one was when the actor played the instrument. Just.
Yeah, great. Yeah.
Can I have another memorable moment?
Yes, of course.
My other memorable moment was the relationship between the old master hunter and the young man wanting to learn. I thought it was beautifully directed and written and beautifully acted by our young actors.
Thank you. Yes?
For me, what was memorable about the piece is the energy that the actors had. It was really amazing for people that had 6 hours to work, and the stuff that they tried to understand it more and unpack it and bring it close to them. So for me, that was really memorable. It was beautiful watching. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Yes.
Yeah, mine was when the actor pronounced his Shona name. I know most people find it difficult to pronounce Shona name. He said, "Nyamashisha," I like that. Yeah. It means a great man.
Great. Okay, anything else meaningful, memorable from that first play? All right, good. So let's go on to some questions. What are the questions you'd like to ask the audience? What are the things that you would really like to find out whether they got or...
Can I ask a question?
I would just like to ask, the play fills you in. It doesn't run in a linear narrative, so it jumps back and forth. And because of time, we also cut a few scenes, but we kept the jumping back and forth. Could you start to follow what was going on, or was it very confusing? Or did you start to realize that actually, yeah?
Yeah? You got it. Okay, great. Good. Did it, yeah?
I quite like the fact that it jumped backwards and forwards because it created a bit of variation, and there'd be a shift in focus and concentration, and one kind of mood was created, and then we'd jump to another mood. And it would be quite serious. And so what was happening is it was building the stakes as we were going through that process. We wouldn't forget while, you know, the elder hunter was showing the younger guy like the square, and they're talking about it. In the back of our mind, we have quite freshly, oh crap, you know, these guys are in serious trouble. And so it keeps the energy kind of building, the tension throughout the process of them being in the bush, which I thought was a lovely way to drive the energy of the play towards that point of what will inevitably happen. You know, are they going to go to jail? Is stuff going to go down? It keeps us involved. So I really like that.
Good. Does anybody else want to comment on that jumping around? Was anybody who found that confusing? Seeing head shaking? No? Nobody found that? Okay, great. Fantastic. Yeah, it's okay.
I think, what do you think about the use of local dialect in that script? The use of whatever it is, Shona Nguni languages.
I thought I was hearing English all the time. I was so involved in the piece that I didn't realize that you'd switched between them.
For the purpose of this play reading, there was we did cut out quite a lot of the actual local dialect, just because the pronunciation was hard, and if you're reading something quickly, and to prevent them stuttering over sort of long sentences in different language, we did translate some of that to English. But are you talking about the language, or are you talking about the idioms and
the texture? Like that's what they think about the texture of that.
The texture of the language. So
in the script, it's part of the script. Does it bring you into the place more like you don't forget that this is not Cape Town, or does it help a lot?
I mean, just in terms of the language, funny enough that you could, because you hear Shona, so you could instantly recognize the language. But it does, the sound of the words does place it in Zim. So if you, because there's, if you start, well, if you, from the Sadek area, you can differentiate from the different languages and the sounds. So if then if people could have pronounced the words clearly and they're familiar with the language, it would come across that it would be placed in Zim, because the texture of the language, the grammar is the same with most of the Sadek languages, but the texture of how it's said, Shona is more closer to Venda in the sound scale, so you'd instantly recognize it.
And for me, just talking about the language, I thought there was a beautiful shift between the almost ritual language of the hunters in the veld and the bureaucratic language of the court. That was really nicely differentiated.
Yeah. Great. Do you have any other questions?
The flow of the story. Did anyone get lost? Very lost? By the structure? The way the scenes were interwoven?
No, I think it was quite beautiful, and the actors themselves, that even though they had papers in their hands, they were able to show you the place. So that's quite imaginative. We could see that they are in the bushes, you know. Yeah. So the performance itself just put us in the story.
Great. Okay, so do you have any questions now for the writer and director? Anything you'd like to know? It can be a small thing, it can be about what happens after the part that we saw. It can be about a choice in the staging or the language, anything you want to ask.
That extract that you saw, was it in the middle, or in the beginning, or towards the end?
It starts where it starts. I think we went scene 1, 2, 1, 2, 5, 4, 7, and a brief bit of what happens in 8. So it does start at the beginning in order, and then just because to try and give a little taste of everything, and also due to the limitations of our cast numbers, we try to give you so it does jump around in time, but just for the extract I also switched around 2 scenes, 5 and 4, left out 3, and then a little bit of 7 and a little bit of 8 for that. So
yeah.
How many people are in the piece?
Actually, there were supposed to be 8.
Supposed to be 8. I mean, I suppose we can share this, but a conversation that I had with some guy is it's quite a long text, and the original extract I think took us about 2 hours to read through. It was also because we were getting used to the different language in it, so we took it's quite a long play, and it's very rich. So I think the challenge for Tsungai is to say, as a text, it's a great text to read as a play text in itself, but now what is his target audience, and is he going to take that whole text and then put it on stage like that, or does it need to be adapted for a younger audience in terms of making it shorter, perhaps creating a show that's potentially an hour, and also creating a show with some of those characters. So we actually put 3 characters into one of our actors. Well, he played 2 characters, but the magistrate and the police officer became one person, so that you can have a smaller cast, and for the staging of this as well, limited props, easily travel. 3 or 4 actors, or 3 actors and a director could perhaps travel in a car, travel in one vehicle easily, minimal props, and adapt it, use physicalization to shorten it and heighten it, and adapt for the stage. So I think that's the thing now that Tsungai needs to figure out, is who his target audience is and how he can keep the richness of the language but also perhaps shorten it.
Yeah? Sorry, let's go to Mike.
I mean, I've just visited Zimbabwe for the first time, and the experience I had was one about space. Like, there's an incredible experience of how much space there is in terms of land, and a kind of sense of a horizontal space. You know, it just kind of goes on and on. So that in the play, as a dramatist, do you think that there's a way of presenting space, or presenting or representing that condition of space in the text? Because it's possibly about running across the space or suggesting as a direction, but are there other solutions to articulating the kind of extraordinariness of suburban space?
Yeah, I don't think that is a challenge. I never thought it in that way. But what I noticed when I flew from Harare to OR Tambo, there is this, when you fly out of Harare, there is this, you see water, trees. When it gets dark, you see darkness. When you arrive at OR Tambo, you see the lights of Joburg. You think you're now arriving at the airport, but you just going on in the light. You land at the airport, you lift off for Cape Town, light all the way. No empty space in between, like there's human habitation everywhere, but that is the difference I noticed. So I will look at that and how I can represent that in my play. Thank you.
Interesting, yeah? Any other questions you'd like to ask? Okay, good. So what are some opinions then? Do you have any opinions you'd like to offer about this play? What really struck you about it? And remember, we're asking if we if we want to have the opinion, I mean, if the opinion wants to be heard. So, yeah, Jacqueline?
May I give an opinion on what struck me about the pairing of the director and the writer? When I read the script, I felt like there were too many words. And I thought that Richard found such beautiful resolutions to offer you in terms of staging. And I feel that that was something really beautiful to see, how the two of you have worked together to bring it to the stage. And I think going forward to work with that thought about physicality and telling the story with the body as well as with the word.
Yeah, I think Richard helped a lot. He cut, like, I wanted to work on 35 pages. The way we were removing pages, I was saying, are we going to have a reading? But he had a vision. And so I trust his vision very much.
Any other opinions? Come on, guys. You think nothing at all? Yeah?
Can I give an opinion on the space of the... it was in the beginning, so I thought, why did you only put it there? But then afterwards I saw that you were like the bushes there, and then you were for like the hunting the rhino and stuff. So then I saw afterwards. So yeah.
Great. Thank you. Last chance. Got a very quiet after lunch feeling here, I fear. Yes, yeah.
I don't know, a question just came to mind, so can I ask it?
Of course.
When you talk about the script itself and the directing, you say you cut off a lot of lines because of the time and the cast members. Now, if you were to have the time that you need for it, would you still see the need to cut off the lines or the parts of the script that you cut off?
Yeah, in my discussion with Richard, we were saying if young people your age are going to watch this play, are you able to sit for 3 hours? That would be very difficult. So I will still cut. I still need to make cuts.
Yeah?
I like the old character.
Okay, thank you. You should have asked first, but it's fine. Okay, so since we've brought that up, what did you like about the old character? Yeah, it's amazing how he seemed to carry so much wisdom in his physicality and in his knowledge of the world around him. Yeah. Yes, Richard.
Can I just make a comment? I mean, I'm a bit biased anyway. I mean, I probably would have come from a physical theatre angle because that's sort of what I do. But I was a bit, I mean, I saw it was very text heavy and I was a bit intimidated at the beginning because I was thinking, how am I going to physicalize this? But because it's, as you said, who was saying, it's how do you capture that vastness of the space and that wide open. As soon as you start limiting the space with props and with things, suddenly you start containing the space. Whereas if you're using elements of mime, running on the spot, things past, going past the space being the home, and then transforming into the bushveld, transforming back, that allows the audience to imagine this vast space without it being defined for them. So I think the use of mime and physicalization and the use of the imaginary, forcing the audience to imagine, would help and go a long way in changing the settings of these from hut to court to open sort of desert and hunting grounds. So it actually ended up working quite well, and I think I would encourage Tsungai to keep it minimal in terms of props and costumes, just to show change in character or change in location, but not to dominate the space, and let the richness of the text and the physicality drive the story and the rhythm.
So going forward for the two of you, what are the things that you take away from this experience? Where would you like to see the play going now?
I would say what I take back is, I mean, I need to make it more concise. And I'm lucky that Richard has done most of that work in the section that we're using. Now the section that remains, I still have to try to think like him. You know, I'll think more in a box than in an open space. Because when I first wrote it, when it was read by Craig Dickinson, he said, "Are you thinking of theatre or are you writing in the bush?" That was a challenge. And I started thinking on a black box, as he said. So I want to remain in that black box and try to represent things in that black box.
Okay, interesting.
Without using too many props, as Richard is saying.
Great. And for you, Richard, what do you take away from this?
I think it's always hard. I mean, I felt quite bad at the beginning because I'm not having known to Guy at all, and taking his beautifully written script and just going. But I was very grateful that he handed it over to me and he gave me that permission just to kill his babies. And you've got to do that. You've got to, and sometimes it does take someone outside when you're too close to something to do that. And it was a process of him trusting me and then me also just trusting myself to carry that forward and to see a vision for that. And then also asking, suddenly sort of thinking about it, not only thinking about it, the play itself, but suddenly also as a producer suddenly going, hang on, if I were to do this script, if I were to produce this, a cast of 8 isn't actually not practical, and starting to think of it from a producer's viewpoint and going, it would be lovely to have a cast of 15 or 8 and have the biggest budget in the world, but can the play fit in a car? Can you travel it? Can 8 people versus 4 people in terms of paying actors, in terms of getting funding? So actually taking an artistic view, but then also completely separately taking a complete business sort of model approach as well, and looking at it and trying to find that balance where you can still have the integrity of the piece, but then using a sort of business model, allow that integrity to go further and to carry it forward so that it can be done in schools and in empty spaces and outside or inside or in town halls or travel from place to place. And I think as artists, that's something that we actually need to be confronting and looking at.
Yeah, what I also take away is that when people are dealing with school kids, they tend to be patronizing. And maybe we can relax on these standards just because they're kids. But what I discovered here is that kids know what they want. And they know quality when they see it. And we have to respect them. I'll take that with me.
Fantastic, thank you.